Hey guys, back in 2005 I built myself a Pentium 4 gaming PC with a 2.6 GHz CPU and an ATR Radeon 9800, and life was good. I was oblivious about the processor war going on between Intel and AMD, and I enjoyed playing games such as Splinter Cell, Call of Duty, Halo and Far Cry. So when I think of these games and I get all nostalgic, I can't help it. For me it has to be a Pentium 4 with an ATR Radeon to bring back those happy memories. Pentium 4 systems and parts are still plentiful and don't cost too much, but if your goal is to build a high-end Pentium 4, then things have changed. A decent motherboard with the 875 chipset isn't going to be that easy to find anymore. And the same goes for high-performance ATI Radeon cards. Anything with an AGP interface is getting harder to find and prices just keep creeping up. But apart from cost and availability, a high-end Pentium 4 has a bad reputation, especially for producing a ton of heat. For example, the Pentium 4 running at 3.6 GHz has a TDP of 115 watts. And even Tom's Hardware ran into issues. They used some average thermal paste, and that was enough that the Pentium 4 560 would throttle and lose performance in benchmarks. But it doesn't have to be like that. What we're building today, the entire system under full load, pulls only around 150 watts at the wall. But even better, the motherboard and video card are going to cost far less, and you can use most modern CPU coolers. And all of this by switching from AGP to PCI Express. And here we have the motherboard. This one is from MSI. It's the P35 Neo 2, and really a nice chipset and VRM cooling with heat pipes and copper, so that's really well done. We can use a standard socket 775 CPU cooler, and we got 4 GB of DDR2 memory, so 2 modules with 2 GB each in dual channel configuration. When it comes to socket 775 Pentium 4s, well, there's a huge range. I went with the final version with the Cedar mill core, the D0 revision. They have a very low TDP of only 65 watts, addressing one of the biggest issues with the Pentium 4, which is heat and power consumption. I went with the 3.4 GHz model. This is the second fastest version, and that's a lot cheaper than trying to find a model running at 3.6 GHz. And here we have the video card. This is nothing other than the Radeon X850 XT Platinum Edition. The AGP version of this card is extremely hard to find, very expensive, and is the final AGP graphics card that does not use a bridge chip. The PCI Express versions are a lot easier to find. I picked up a couple on eBay last year. The seller sold them for only $15 each, so that was a no-brainer for me. For the sound card, we're gonna mix things up a little bit. Creative sent us a care package last year, and in the box was the Sound Blaster Audigy 5 or the Audigy RX, depending on the market. And this is a PCI Express sound card with EAX support and Windows XP drivers. For storage, we're going with a 120 gig SSD that makes the system very responsive, and the loading times are extremely fast. We don't need any adapters or PCI controllers this time because the motherboard has native SATA 2 on board. Here we have the system all put together. Let's have a look at some benchmarks before we check out some gameplay footage. First up, we have 3D Mark, and we're comparing this system with two previous systems that we checked out on the channel, the Pentium 4 RAM bus system and the Athlon XP 3200 Plus, and we can see that the PCI Express Pentium 4 is taking the lead, almost 24,000 points in 2001 SE, and in 03 over 13,000 points. Here we have Far Cry, and we can see that the AGP systems were heavily CPU limited, whereas on the PCI Express Pentium 4 we're getting a nice boost. Instead of around 60 FPS, we're getting around 80, and even at the high resolution we're still getting 79 FPS. And here we have Doom 3, a very demanding game on the graphics card. Even the 9700 Pro starts to lose performance at around 1024 by 768. The Fire GL X3 and the X850 XTP, they fare a little bit better, but even those cards at 1280 by 1024 we can see a drop in performance. And once again, the PCI Express Pentium 4 is a little bit in front of all the other machines. And now let's have a look at some gameplay footage. All the games run at 1280 by 1024 with 16x anisotropic filtering turned on in the driver. Fraps is running, giving us the FPS, and I will put some information about the game on the screen in the bottom.
Yes. Ah, there you are.
So let's summarize this video. We should have a much better idea of what the performance of such a machine is like. Firstly, the performance is improved, not just thanks to the higher clock speed, but we're also getting, for example, faster memory and a more modern chipset. So all those benefits do make an impact. Also, there are some improvements that aren't showing up in the benchmark results. For example, the snappiness and the responsiveness. We've got a SATA 2 controller, for example, and an SSD. So the loading times are really fast and the whole machine feels really responsive. Another benefit is that you can use socket 775 CPU coolers, so tower coolers, even AIO coolers are all available. And thanks to PCI Express, we have access to a much wider range of video cards, but also sound cards, and the prices are a lot lower. Especially the high-end AGP video cards, they can cost a small fortune. So there you go, guys. We built a Pentium 4 Windows XP retro gaming PC that addresses a few of the shortcomings of the Pentium 4. And now I'd love to hear your thoughts about using PCI Express for the Pentium 4, so leave your comments down below. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed this content and you want to see more stuff like it, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, click on that notification bell so you get all the future updates. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you soon with another one.